I talk a lot about on my socials, especially as someone who is a hoodoo creative, that a lot of times the things that we are naturally good at, they were given to us and passed down to us by our ancestors who may or may not have been able to fully do the things that they wanted to do, which is why Soul is as talented as she is. When she was born, it was already established that she was going to be the one that saves their lineage, that saves their conjure, that keeps their conjure out of the hands of Jackie Moreau, which is another character that we're going to get to later on in the 31 Days of Foolish. Breathe, relax, deep into this rap, deep into this, deep into this, deep into this. Hey, Bookie Butt, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I am back, and we are here to do day 3 of the 31 Days of Foolish series, in which I am doing on my channel this Hoodoo Heritage Month of October, where I am talking about my Hoodoo Fiction, urban fiction novel Foolish, and today we are going to be getting into the main character, Soul. But before we do that, happy Hoodoo Heritage Month, happy Gullah Geechee Month to all who celebrate. It is a great month to be a woo-woo, to be black, and to be ancestrally connected, okay? So let's get into this main character of Soul, because Lord Jesus, I wrote her, okay? And she aggravates me. So I can only imagine how someone reading this book would be like, girl, get it together, okay? So let's get into it. So Soul is the first character I wrote, and I know y'all are like, girl, she's the main character. Like, duh, why wouldn't she be the first character that you wrote? Writers, you can tap in. It don't always go that way, okay? You don't always get the main character first. Sometimes you get some one-off side character, and the main character develops from that. Neither here nor there. She is the first character that I fully fleshed out, and when Soul made her appearance to me, she was very loud, she was very boisterous, she was very sassy, she was very much like, this is who I am. Don't try to make me cute. Don't try to make me all polished and put together, honey. I am a mess. She was very like me. Which leads me to my next point. A lot of people, after they read Foolish and knowing me, was like, Meg, Bookie Bad, Honey Pop, she's very familiar. Is there any chance that you and Soul are entangled in some way? And at first, I was like, nah. But then I read the book with my reader eyes and not being like engulfed in it as the author and the creator of it. And I was like, oh, yeah. That was a big message for me, because on one hand, it was like my folks wanted me to write this book for the masses and for the public, and then on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but you're also writing this book for you. You're writing the book that you needed. And so it's interesting to read this book and have people react to Soul, because I'm like, is that what you think about me? Because I am she is me, we are we. So let's talk about Miss Soul. Who is she? Her name is Solelil Marceline Dupree. She was born January 22nd, 1990, which will make her an Aquarius. And she is the oldest child of Luna and Freddie, and the sibling of Andre and Kylina. And I don't want to ever say, because I wrote her purposely this way, she is not one of the oldest daughters that has oldest daughter syndrome, where we gotta do all the things, be all the things, we'll never get a day of rest. I didn't want to write her like that, right? One of the things that I made sure that I wanted to include in her story is that she was nurtured. That was very important to me. And there was a point in the book where I was talking about how she's just a creative. She's into all the things. She's into writing. She's into painting. She's into music. She's into dance. She's into all of these things. And I wanted to really create an environment where her parents nurtured that, and they indeed nurtured that in her. And that's one of my favorite things in the book. Like, Mama Luna was so supportive of everything that her baby did, even to the point where she, went to Brooklyn, and even though her mama ain't know that she had turned into a private dancer for money, her mama ain't know that. But what she did know is that her child went to a whole new city and made a new life for herself. And so I feel like she really nurtured her in that way. The book, I hint around to the fact that when she was younger, as she was growing up, she was able to see spirits. And that was her first encounter with anything ancestral or anything of that realm. And she navigated that in the way that she did because she didn't understand it. And so in order to honestly like distract herself from a lot of things, she started to do all of these things. To her mind, if I stay busy, I'm not going to see dead people. So we're going to do all of the things. But another part of that is also she didn't even realize, and I don't even think I mentioned this in the book, but she didn't even realize that a lot of the things that she was naturally good at, like writing, dancing, singing, these are all things that were passed down to her through her lineage. Which brings me to my next point. Soul was destined. There is no part of her story that was not written for her. Even her F-ups were written for her, right? And she is really a character who embodies so many of her ancestors. And the reason that I wanted to make it that way is because obviously we're not going to get introduced to all of her ancestors, right? But the ones that are prominent, I wanted you to be able to like stand them side by side and be like, okay, yeah, y'all family for real. I talk a lot about on my socials, especially as someone who is a hoodoo creative, that a lot of times the things that we are naturally good at, they were given to us and passed down to us by our ancestors who may or may not have been able to fully do the things that they wanted to do, which is why Soul is as talented as she is. When she was born, it was already established that she was going to be the one that saves their lineage, that saves their conjure, that keeps their conjure out the hands of Jackie Moreau, which is another character that we're going to get to later on in the 31 Days of Foolish. So, how did we get from Soul to the beginning to Soul at the end? What was the inciting incident? Her parents were unalived. Her parents were unalived in her hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina. If you know anything about Fayetteville, North Carolina, you know that's not far-fetched. No shade, 2-6, just saying. And the most aggravating part of this for Soul is she left and had no plans of coming back. Not for as long as she needed to be in Fayetteville to deal with her parents unaliving. This is what creates the challenge for her because she feels like she has an obligation, obviously, to come back and deal with her parents and their unaliving and their all of the funeral things that she needs to do, being there for her siblings and all of the things. But she also was very much so itching to get that ass back up to Brooklyn. What she walked into was so much bigger, I think, than anything that she could have ever anticipated. Because imagine going to bury your parents. Okay, putting together a cute little funeral service, being the shoulder for your siblings and the rest of your family, and then you're like, Huts, like, your family is a family of very, very powerful hoodoos, and there's this hating asshole named Jackie Monroe who wants y'all's conjure, so guess what? You're gonna have to fight her for it. I just wanted to bury my parents. Thus brings me to my next point of her family's history and their ancestral lineage within hoodoo. One thing we not going to do, okay, because yeah, she inherited all the good stuff. She got all the good gifts, right? Remember I said earlier, one of her early gifts was seeing spirits, but she got so much more than that she just had tapped into. But one side of that, yeah, she got the good stuff, but she got some of that trauma too, and that bloodline child. Conjure and the gifts that Soul is made aware of are ancient gifts. She literally gets the gift of every woman in her family. So where all the other women in her family have their gift, she had all of their gifts collectively. And when she gets it, she's not completely sure that she wants it. And this is also a lesson in be careful what you ask for, because there's a lot of people who would probably been like, I hit the jackpot to get all of that. But baby, heavy is the head, okay? Because for as much as she is like low-key a little bit hyped about the gift part, what she don't understand is that this also comes with a whole bunch of drama and secrets. A whole bunch of jealousy, a whole bunch of conflict, some familial expectations that she's not sure she cool with. She really ain't here for none of her dead folks' opinions, and I promise you, Soul be rolling her eyes like 95% of the book, because she's like, who are you? So, what is Soul's goals in this book? Why is she here? Okay, oh my Johnson, why you here, ho? Okay, number one is the primary goal. She is here to uncover her parents' unalivers and bring them justice. Only little did she know that did not mean justice on this plane. Okay. The second goal is to protect and save her bloodline. Again, she is now the matriarch of her family. So she has to do all the things. And one of those things is her finding her grandmother, whom she didn't even know existed her entire life. Why is it so important that Soul finds her grandmother? I'm glad you asked. Her grandmother Odessa is going to be a great helpmate to help her, navigate these spiritual and physical realms so she won't get caught up in some shit. But she gotta find her first, that's the thing. And even finding her is a whole bunch of, okay. 4. Soul has to learn how to listen to the guidance of her ancestors while simultaneously making sure that she is also listening to her own agency. If you don't know nothing else about me in these interwebs, in these spiritual online streets, I talk a lot about knowing what you sound like, what your shanana sounds like, you feel me? What your voice sounds like, and what the voice of your ancestors and those who are sent to guide you sound like. Because although you have that guidance, it's very important for you to still be able to hear self. Because trickster spirits exist. Just saying. And lastly, and probably the most important, is she has to explore herself. She has to explore her own identity. Throughout the whole beginning of this book, and actually throughout most of the book, you hear her saying, I know who I am. Ain't nobody gotta tell me who I am. I'm me, and if you don't like it, you can move around. And that's great, you feel me? But there's so much more to her, like I was speaking about earlier. So she's tasked with asking herself, underneath all of what she portrays on the outside, who is she really? And being who she is, how does she evolve, and how does she step into this matriarchal position and power that she needs to step into in order to be able to save her family? And one of my favorite things about this book, where this book isn't really a coming of age story, it kind of is, because we watch Soul come into her own and come into her power, even in the way that she does it, which is very aggravating. Why is Soul relatable? In this book, she's navigating trauma, she's navigating family, and then at the same time navigating self-discovery. We've all been there. And I think Soul honestly is relatable more so than not, mostly because of that back and forth power struggle inside. Am I doing this right? Who am I to be cut out for this? Why is this set upon my shoulder? Get somebody else to do it. You feel me? We've all been there. Especially those of us who really truly got it out the mud and did not have elders and had to really learn how to listen to, cultivate, and hone our own agency. It can feel pretty lonely. It can feel pretty confusing, yeah. And so I wanted to make her relatable in that way. I wanted you to be able to look at her and be like, okay, so I'm not alone. I'm not by myself. I'm not the only person who's going through this. And also as a message of, it gets better. Like, you're not always going to be, I really hate this term, but there's no other term that comes to mind that would describe it right. We've all been baby hoodoos. We have all been infants in our crafts. You grow, you get older, you make mistakes. But it gets better. What are some of the themes of Soul Story? Conjure, okay, bloodline, lineage, legacy. Definitely say finding identity and purpose. We can go with that. Child jealousy, secrets, dramas, hood. Like, this is a very black book. I will say that. Who is this book for? I feel like this book is for two different types of people. I feel like this is one of those books that is a great read, should you so stumble upon it. If nothing else, you're going to get a great read out of it. You're going to read it, you're going to love it, and it's going to be just another great book for you. However, I feel like some people are going to read this story and be like, I see what you did there, Mac. There are going to be some people who are going to be able to read in between the lines of what I'm saying. This book is for hoodoos, no matter what stage you are. But I wrote this book for the me's, the souls, the ones of us who are unsure and are tasked with cultivating some type of I don't even know what word to use, but making things make sense. So if that sounds like you and you relate to soul in that way, I really encourage you to go downstairs in the underneath the bar and pick up your copy of Foolish. I cannot wait to get into some of the other characters and see even how they intertwine and interact with Soul and what their purpose in her life in this book is. If you are someone who has read this book and you feel like this book was relatable in any type of way to you, make sure you drop that down below in the comments section. I love talking to y'all about this book, about these characters, and I love the stories that y'all share with me about your experience with this book. that is it for day 3 of the 31 Days of Foolish. Make sure you hit all the buttons. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, all the things. All of my links are downstairs in the description box. The link to the email list, the link to buy the book, the link to all of the things, the substacks, they're all down there. So make sure you go and check them out. I will see you guys in the next video. Be great, get bread, stay all the way live. And with everything being said, you don't have the Hoodoo Heritage Month that you conjured. Peace.